Hello, I'm Cyrus Crone, editor and publisher of Issaquah Daily, and with us today is Jason Lichtenberger, coach of the Issaquah varsity girls soccer team. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Cyrus.
You're our very first podcast guest, and we still don't have a name for this thing yet. I'm thinking Issaquah Daily interviews or Quaversations. So we'll put that up to a vote for the audience. But thank you for joining us. And the reason that we're kicking off the series and you as our first guest is because last Saturday, November 20th, you were in the state championship game against Camas.
Correct. Yes. It was a great moment for our program for sure.
I drove down there with Mayor Mary Lou Pauley, who plays soccer herself. And we were talking during the game just about how impressive it was watching your team play, and thought that you'd be a great subject to discuss the outcome with. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way, but boy, the fight that your team put up and played their hearts out. It was really, I think, well, just sitting in the stands, it was painful to watch. I can only imagine what it was like for you and the team.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, we're all still pretty devastated right now, and we got together yesterday. I had to collect all the uniforms, and the finality of that, coupled with the emotions coming off the losses, it was pretty tough. And we're meeting together at the school again today. The school's having a little celebration just before Thanksgiving at the end of school to celebrate the teams that got to state and how well they did. So I think that'll be good. But we'll sit back and we'll recognize what an accomplishment that was. It's just so many mixed emotions right now. As I said, just a lot of girls and myself just can't realize that happened. Just basically, the way they played, how hard they played, how well they played, and to not come away with the big trophy and the small trophy instead was it was a tough one to swallow for sure.
Yeah, we'll try to make this as cathartic as possible for you. As a fan in the stands, you really did dominate the game. I'm not just saying that because we're here in Issaquah. I mean, truly watching you all play. I thought it was a matter of time before the ball was going to go into the back of the net, and then see how your defense would perform. Second half, they cranked up the pressure a little bit, but your defense weathered the storm exceptionally well. And to see it go to shootouts, talk about a nail biter. I woke up this morning to see the results of the Sounders Real Salt Lake score, and I mean it was, you could have put Issaquah and Camas's names right there in the headline, and it was almost the identical story. Sounders play their heart out, but lose in, shutout. So we'll talk about the role of the shutout in the league a little bit later, but let's talk about you individually for a minute, and then we'll get to the team. So you've been a long time assistant with the program, and then it's my understanding that you left and came back, and this was your first year as the head coach of the women's team. Share your history and how you started in Issaquah and where you went and why you came back.
Yeah, I have a long history with the high school. I actually first started coaching at Issaquah High School in 2001. I joined on, I was a couple years out of college at that point. I came on as an assistant for the boys soccer team. And so I spent a few years doing that. And then in 2004, the head coach at the time, Tom Bonnell, he's a well-known name around Issaquah after his success, he decided that he was also going to take over the girls program. He stopped coaching with the boys. So in the 2004 fall season, I became an assistant coach with the girls. That was Tom's first year as the head coach. And then in 2005, that same academic year, so in the spring of 2005, I took over as head coach for the boys. And so I spent 8 seasons up until 2012 as head coach for the boys program. And then from 2004 all the way through 2017, I served as the JV coach and the head assistant for Tom Bonnell with the girls.
Did you play college ball?
I did not play college ball. I like to tell everyone I was slightly above average. I put my best foot forward. Tried to walk on over at Seattle University, and they had a pretty solid recruiting class the year I came in, and I wasn't up to that level.
Well, you clearly got a mind for the sport, watching the way your team was coached. Now, you were a part of one of the state championship teams. Was that on the women's or men's side?
On the men's side, haven't won a state title yet, so we got close a couple of times. But on the girls' side, just an amazing history there. From 2004 through 2017. So in those 14 seasons, we actually made it to the state tournament 13 times out of those 14 years. There was only one year where we did not qualify for the state tournament. And of the 13 trips to the state tournament, we got all the way to the state championship game 9 times and won 5 of those. So 5 state titles in those 14 years, and a pretty incredible run.
Yeah, dynasty almost. Congratulations. Let's discuss that a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you feel as a coach that you've got a championship team on your hands? You've been a part of many of them. Is that something that you watch these players mature over time, and then you craft that team knowing that you got all the best, or is it the first week of the season? Just talk through the psychology of as a coach. When does it feel like this is something special?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to say, as a coach, you just go, hey, every year I'm going to have a championship caliber team. I don't know when you quite think that. I think the talent we get at Issaquah year in and year out, we know we're always going to be knocking on that door. Honestly, the league we play in, the Kinko League, which stands for King County League, all those teams, we're drawing from a large pool of players. We're drawing from an area that, all of our kids are playing year-round club at a pretty high level as well. And so talent-wise, year in and year out, we're going to have a team that's going to compete for league championships. We're going to have a team that's going to compete at the district level and at the state level. But high school is a little bit different. There's so much that goes into building a high school team and what it takes to be successful. You've got a range of 4 years of age groups. You've got, kids that, believe in playing in their community. And if they do, and if they're playing with their, and believe in playing with their friends, there's so much more than talent that goes into building a championship high school team. And, it's been a winning formula for us at Issaquah, what we do, how we approach the season outside of just the soccer. There, a lot of the soccer goes into it, but another 50% of that is, just how the girls can respond, how they, the belief and pride in playing for your high school. Just the culture that's within the program, and there's just there's something special we've built at Issaquah, and come back in after being away for a few years and reviving that. We had a word this year the girls called revival, and so the whole concept behind that was reviving the culture of the program, and to have it happen in year 1 was pretty spectacular.
Well, and camaraderie plays such an important part in that. I had a question about just over the last 20 years, as we've watched technology permeate society, so many people are now just, wedded to their keyboards, and individual athletics versus team sport. It's my belief that team sport's invaluable as people progress through life and they get into the workforce, because you got to know how to win and lose together. As a coach, what do you instill in your players in terms of that camaraderie, collegial spirit, but the dependence that they have on each other to succeed together? Can you talk a little bit, how you broach that?
We spent a lot of time on that. It's fun. We come into the season and, you go through a couple of days of tryouts, and you form this team of, 18 players. It's usually around 18. And one of the first things I tell them is, this program is all about how we love and support each other. And, if and you have to show that love day in and day out, or if you can't, you at least have to fake it for 2.5 months. So it's a little funny thing we do. Fortunately, nobody has to fake it. There truly is that kind of love and caring between all the girls. But one thing we talked about this season too, and it probably said it before every game and, multiple days of the week at practice, but we talked about the bond that this team had, and it was pretty special. We said, this is a bond that will bend at times and bend significantly at times, but it will never break. And so the girls really believed in that we had this special bond with this group. And, we bent at times. We had some really rough moments throughout the season, but we never broke. And it's still tough to talk about, but just the run we had through the state playoffs and how well we played, and we played our best soccer of the season at the right time, and just to do what we did was pretty special. But at the same time, it's still so disappointing that we didn't come away with the championship.
Well, I remember maybe there was about 15 minutes left in the match in regulation, and there was a shot that hit the crossbar, and it's like, oh, go, come in. And it's water under the bridge, but I made a note of it in the Issaquah daily tweets, and maybe we shouldn't even go there, but there were two what appeared to be obvious handballs in the box that the sideline ref missed, and the fans were getting on them a little bit, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, what would have happened had those turned the other way. But I'm sure y'all will be right back there again next year. I had a question going back to something we discussed a few minutes ago around the camaraderie. Did your team kind of cut their teeth together in the youth leagues and grew up together and knew each other exceptionally well? Or were there new players that came in, to the high school program? Kind of, what's the history of the girls in terms of their history together?
Yeah, they definitely all know each other. I mean, across the league, all the girls know each other, played together, have competed either together or against one another. We have a couple clubs that we draw a significant amount of our players from. There's a fantastic club in the Issaquah area that's called the Gunners. It started out as Issaquah Soccer Club. They go by Gunners now. We draw so many kids from there, and the quality of player that comes out of that club is fantastic. There's also a club called Eastside FC, which is based out of the Preston area, which it's a top level club in the state and really nationally recognized. And we draw some players from there. And then those are the two really local clubs. And there's another club called Pac Northwest and one called Crossfire. They're a little farther away from the Issaquah area, so we'll get a few players from those clubs as well. But those are the ones that we really draw a significant amount of our players. So whether they're on the same team, in the same club in a different age group, or they're competing against those clubs throughout our entire league, we've got a significant amount of players coming from those 4 to 5 clubs that all either play together or play against each other. So there's a lot of familiarity within our program and also our opponents as well.
Great, thank you. I got a couple more questions for you, and I want to stick on this theme for a moment, which is a lot of coaches that I speak with, and I'm a coach myself, different sport, all have different philosophies about continuity, meaning that some coaches want to see diversity and encourage kids to go out and do other activities, play other sports. And then the others that just want that consistency, playing soccer, 365, nothing else except maybe doing some strength training in the gym. What's your personal philosophy on well-rounded athletes? Should they just be single sport athletes or multi-sport? Kind of, where's your head at there?
Yeah, very good question. That's something us coaches always talk about. So I do coach year round as well at Eastside FC. So I'm in one of those environments where we have very high level players that we're training, not 365 days a year, but you get it. It's a full-time year round program. I fully believe that kids should participate in multiple athletics and find the right way that makes it work. There's a huge benefit for what's been happening at the athletics level in terms of club sports and that much training. The skill level of players that the skill level of players today is phenomenal. It's very different than when both you and I grew up playing, and just like how good and how technical these players are and how good they are with the ball, whatever that sport is, be it basketball, football, soccer, all these kids that are playing year round. The talent level is incredible for sure. But I definitely believe in the well-rounded athlete. One of the reasons I love high school athletics, right? You've got 3 distinct seasons, and it's 3 months, and roughly 3 months. If you do well like we did, you go 3.5, close to 4 months. But um, I like that environment for kids. I like athletes that do have that well-rounded multi-sport environment. It helps them in their sport, maybe they're best at, and it's always about finding the right balance for those athletes. So they're probably gonna have a sport where they're playing year round, and that's their specialty sport. But having a variety of athletics in their life, I think, really benefits them overall.
Thank you. Well, let me respond to the skill level from an outsider's perspective and sitting in the stands. And I think I say this on behalf of not only Mayor Pauly, but your opponent's coach, who was quoted saying as much in terms of how well your team performed. It was amazing to watch the quality of that soccer, just, to trap the ball, make the pass 3 to 4 in a row, move the ball down the field. I mean, it was impressive soccer. Every one of your girls should be proud of themselves and the skills that they've developed. I mean, it was, frankly, I've seen some pro games where it felt like they were playing kickball more than, your team was. So
Right.
Big ups to Issaquah girls soccer. It was quite impressive. I'm a little reluctant to go there because it's a team sport and you all played so magnificently together. But one person stood out in particular. I just have to ask you about number 7, I believe, Shelby Runge, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You could tell when she wasn't on the field, and it was like, get her back in. And then when she had the ball, she just dances with it. It's so magical to watch. Can you talk a little bit about Shelby, sort of where she's at in her career, where she's at with the school, where she's going? Is she I presume she's being recruited by everyone, but let's single her out for a minute, with all due respect to everybody else.
Yeah, no, and it's Shelby Runge is how you pronounce
Runge,
that.
thank you.
Yep. And it's fine to talk about players because Shelby's a special talent, and just working with her day in and day out. So what you saw in one night, we see that every day, and we don't take that for granted. She's got pace. She can run past people. Her ability to shift in small spaces, it's incredible. We haven't had many players that have that type of ability, and so to see her and recognize her, really deserves. She's just such a great teammate, and we all love her, and she's just so fantastic. But yeah, she's a junior, so we've got her for one more year.
Awesome.
She was actually voted by the league's coaches as the offensive player of the year in the conference. So she was recognized in a very talented league as the top offensive player. She had 15 goals and 14 assists across, what did we play, 17 or 18 games, which it blows my mind. She had a hand in over half of our goals, whether she scored or assisted on it. So what she does for the program is absolutely massive, and it's fun to recognize a player like that. She's already verbally committed to Gonzaga University to play soccer there, so she can't actually sign until early November of her senior year, when they do the national letter of intent day. She'll officially sign with Gonzaga, but she's committed to going there, and really excited for that opportunity as well.
Excellent. Well, if I can implore those who are listening to this to do one thing next season, it's get out there, support the team, and watch Shelby play, because it's a thing of beauty. Last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Back to that sore subject on shootouts.
Yeah.
So Camas, who won in shootouts, they're in the Greater St. Helens League. That league does not have shootouts. So I think they practice them, but they don't ever have that opportunity in a match. What do you think about the role of shootouts in high school ball? Should it just be sudden death, play till you score, or what are the I guess and then what's the general sentiment amongst the coaches in the league? Will you lobby to keep or not keep shootouts?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's funny, and I like to think I have a good philosophy and on the game, and I opened up the Seattle Times Sunday morning, and they pulled out the quote in that said, and I said, "Soccer sucks sometimes." And I go,
Yeah, I
that
saw
didn't
that.
sound very intelligent, but really, I mean, that's the truth. After the Sounders game last night, you referenced that earlier. I turned to my friend I was at the game with, and I just go, I hate soccer this week. Like, I think all of us coaches have a love and hate relationship with soccer because there are some aspects of the game that just to us don't make sense. I know the Camas coach was quoted as saying they don't do. I mean, nobody does shootouts throughout the season. We don't do shootouts in the Kinko League throughout the season, so we're all in the same boat there. When you go through league, most leagues have just you end at a tie. We do a 10-minute overtime, and the end result is a tie. We actually had a tie this year against Puyallup, a high school who at the time was the defending state champion. And had like a 25-30 game unbeaten streak, and Camas actually was, or no, actually it was Richland that knocked them out of the state tournament this year, so we thought we might see them again. But in reality, most of the leagues aren't doing shootouts. We just end the game in a tie after a certain overtime period. Do I like shootouts? I don't know. I don't like shootouts at all. And really, the what I would lobby for first, because at some point you have to end the game, you have to have a winner. But just a longer overtime period. I mean, we play 2 5-minute halves. You could barely get your feet wet in that. You kick off, and 5 minutes later you're switching sides and there's a break in the action. If you look at professional ranks, if you look at college ranks, a lot of those will be kind of a 2 15-minute overtimes is more what I would want to see. I was actually joking with the officials at the time, maybe to calm my nerves a little bit, but as overtime ended, the 4 officials are over there, and the other coach is right next to me as well. And I just go, hey, let's just throw 20 minutes on the clock. Like, this is fun. Like, let's just keep going. That's what nobody's going to complain. That's what the people want to see. And I was joking, but I think their coach took me a little seriously about that. He said, no, we got to go to penalty. He was all about, like, the game needs to stop.
Yeah.
But we've done a few things. I have a lot, as I said before, I've been in the Kinko League since 2001, way back when I first started. When we went to overtime after 10 minutes, if nobody had scored yet, then there would be another 10-minute period, and we'd actually take 2 players off the field and play 9v9, which was awesome. Like, you had to change your coaching philosophy. The game's wide open. There was always somebody that scored in that 10 minutes. I thought that was a lot of fun, but there's creative solutions out there. But the biggest one for me is just, let's go 30 minutes overtime, not 10. There's just not enough time.
Yeah, well, if the game had been decided by boxing judges, I know that you would have come out victorious because the grit, vigor that y'all put into that, it certainly showed. And I think you definitely outplayed Camas through
Yeah, I mean,
regulation. So
yeah, we haven't talked about that much, but I mean, just the entire state tournament run these girls had. There's no other sport you could say this real quick. We had 4 state tournament games, right? We did not allow a single goal, and we didn't win the thing. Like, I mean, what sport can you say that? And these girls, and if you look at our scores, actually, we ended up 1-1 against Issaquah. We actually scored an own goal on ourselves in that one. I guess we were tired of too many shutouts and decided to help the opposition out. But we did not allow another team to score on us, and we didn't come home with the big trophy. But these girls were playing their best soccer of the season at the time. They were incredible. Richland in the semis, that's a team that scored 90 goals this year. Camas had scored close to 80. These are teams that are averaging 4 to 5 goals a game. And we completely shut them down. And the defensive performance we put forth was just remarkable. And, with players like Shelby, and we've got 3 other really special forwards, Jensen Linz and Helen Lizen, and then a sophomore named Maggie Dutra. And when you have those 4, you're going to get a goal a game, at least. And so to go through the state tournament and shut out every opponent, we felt good about our chances. And you're right, against Camas, they had no answer for us. We dominated that first half. We really brought it to them, and they're a good team. They're a very, very good team that we highly respect. And they came back at us in the second half, and they had a response. And
yeah,
we
they
had to
did.
weather a bit of a storm there, as you're always going to do in soccer. But the last 10 minutes of the regulation and then the 10 minutes of overtime, like, our team brought it. And I could tell those girls wanted to win that game. And they, we didn't want to go to penalties, but we want to show we can beat anybody. And we wanted to win that game and not leave it to a game of chance. And it's heartbreaking, the result, but at the same time, like, you could step back and look at that effort, and I couldn't be more proud of these girls.
Well, they all held their heads high walking off the field, and that says a lot about your leadership. So, Coach Jason, thank you so much for joining us today on Issaquah Daily Interviews. I think that's what I'm going to go with. It feels right. And 2022 Issaquah girls soccer, here we come.
Yeah. I mean, 9 months to prepare, but we're ready. So, Cyrus, thank you for this opportunity, and just the opportunity to talk about these wonderful girls. I appreciate you doing this for them.
Of course. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and go get them next year.
All right. Same to you as well.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.